Sanjay Anandaram here, and thank you all for making time to be here. So we are a network of Indian cultural enterprises. And it's a not-for-profit company, and we were born in the middle of COVID, October of 2020, and we will complete our 4th year in the coming month. The first 2 years was the middle of COVID, so everything that we did was online. We couldn't sort of go out into the physical world and interact with people. And then last 2 years we've been around. So what is nice and what is the logic of setting this organization up, right? And brief talk I'm going to give you essentially captures that. So if you look at the current situation around the country, and we all know about the distress that a lot of people faced during COVID, particularly artisans, craftspeople, and so on. Now, this is the reality that we should all confront. The reality of all our cultural heritage, our assets, all of it. Right? We have June 21st as World Yoga Day, but if you look around and ask yourself, have we created anything worthwhile, that is economically worthwhile and therefore socially beneficial also for people from the world of yoga? It's an $80 billion global industry. We don't have a single Indian yoga company. So others are actually making hay out of it. And that's one big issue. We are going to have Deepavali coming up. All our traditional sweets, etc., will slowly disappear. And we will have chocolates, etc., replacing it. We are the world's largest manufacturer of handicrafts, but all the people who make money out of it take our handicrafts and sell back garments to us. That is because of a very fundamental issue that we need to think about. You look at our museums, you look at our libraries, you look at our tourism, all of it. So a country like ours, which has got so much of cultural heritage, in fact, I would argue and say that the single largest asset of our country is the cultural heritage. And if we don't figure out what to do with it, we are soon going to lose it. And we will all become pale imitators of some other culture or some other country, right? Which is not a very desirable situation to be in. I talked about this mithai business, right? And it's very important for us to understand the impact that it has, downstream impact. So we should be able to, and we come from the world of IT and tech, okay, and therefore, that bias exists. Our entire focus has been on preservation and protection of our culture. It has not been on promotion and creating prosperity. How do you create livelihoods? How do you create economic wealth? How do you create the brand India or brand Telangana or brand Tamil Nadu, whatever, right? It's very, very important to think more deeply about this. The only industry in which India is recognized, has given pride to people, has created livelihoods, has generated wealth within India as well as recognized outside, and this city is also one of the big landmark beneficiaries of that, is IT and technology. So what are the learnings we can get from there and use it in other sectors of the economy? And the sector of culture is very important. So today what happens, if I wear an expensive shirt or a pair of jeans, it's made from cotton yarn that is processed, that is converted into a piece of textile. The textile then goes to a factory and becomes a garment and becomes a finished jeans, right? If you take a pair of shoes, if I pay Nike $120 for sports shoes, the bill of materials on that is about $10. So $110 is the gap between the cost and what the customer pays. What happens to the differential? We take great pride in doing job work. We will see some foreign magazine with somebody there wearing, some fancy clothing, and we say, look, so-and-so celebrity wore this dress at so-and-so event. And on that dress, there is a small bit of embroidery that is probably done in India. And for that person would have got $100, $200, while the dress itself is sold for several $1,000s. So what does this mean? Exactly like what happened in the world of IT. Back in the day, and I grew up in that era in the 1980s, we would do what is called, job shop work, where somebody would come and say, look, I need to do a small bit of programming, and I need to do it quickly, and I need to do it at a low cost, right? And we would then have somebody who just knew programming to program it, and that was it. The same thing happens in garments. I need somebody to do some embroidery. So some big brand, some Italian fashion giant will come and say, look, I need to do some embroidery, so some ajrak work will happen, so that work gets done. And they will get some $5 or something, right? But as time has moved and we have progressed, we have moved from job shop to designing the finished product, to branding it, and to retailing it, right? And that jump from being at the low end of the entire chain of activity to coming to the other end of that chain has been the critical shift that is occurring today in India and will only accelerate. But how did it happen? It didn't happen by accident. It took place because lots and lots of organizations emerged to create the environment, the regulatory environment, policy environment, entrepreneurs, access to capital, research, partnerships, mentoring, networking, all kinds of things happen. And then we see today and we say, look, this is what has happened in this category. So 5 million people are employed, $235 billion of Indian exports takes place. It is larger than the oil that Saudi Arabia sells. That is the size today. And it didn't happen just like that, right? So the same logic, the same principles we are attempting to do in the area of culture. So if you look at all these 5 categories that we focus on, right, which is health, wellness and beauty, which is yoga or Ayurveda or, areas like that, food and beverage. If you look at around today, right, all of us have heard of tequila as a drink, right, or whiskey and, things like that. They all began as local country liquors in their countries of origin, whether it's Mexico or Scotland and all that. But our drinks, whether it's Mahua or Feni, we've just forgotten. And we've killed it with crazy laws and regulation. Feni, have all of you heard of Feni in Goa? Right? Feni is classified as a local brew. And therefore, by law, it cannot be sold outside Goa. Right? Just think how crazy it is. And like that in each and every area, through regulation, bad policy, all kinds of challenges and issues, we have ensured that we have destroyed livelihoods by in huge numbers. Home decor, tourism, of course, it's a crying shame what has happened in this country with so much of cultural heritage. You don't have tourism for a variety of reasons. So, what is it that we are wanting to do? There's so many changes taking place in this country, right? So we want to take the learnings of all of it and bring it to bear and be able to create an opportunity where people come and want to build a business that is based on India's cultural assets to create livelihoods. Because what is happening today, you go to any village, any craftsperson there, the next generation does not want to take up that same craft. Why is that? Because it's not economically valuable for the next generation to take up. They don't get respect, they don't make the money, etc., right? So the way to restore it is not by keeping it in a museum, but by making it economically viable for them to continue, right? And I'll take 2 short anecdotes, research-based. All of you know what a kulhad is, right? The chai that you get on the platforms. Here's some interesting stuff about a kulhad. 1.8 billion kulhads are consumed in India. Okay? But how is a kulhad made? It is made in a brick kiln at a temperature of 800 degrees with a 30% breakage, extremely environmentally unfriendly, massive amount of smoke and ash and all of that. But where does the clay come from? Every year, 4 square kilometers of rich topsoil is taken to produce 1.8 billion kulhards. All these kulhards are only single use because you can't use it again. Number two, it's not environmentally friendly because after I drink it and I throw it, it stays on in the soil. So what do? Just see how, and therefore what is happening now, how do you redesign it? How do you make it attractive? So you have to, let's say, glaze it. So then you can get different designs, different colors, you can reuse it. But to do that, you have to get to 1200 degrees centigrade in the brick kiln. Okay? Which the technology exists, but our guys don't know how to use it. Now, just a simple thing like that suddenly transforms a business. You take another place called Ettikopaka here in Andhra, right? There's a very famous gentleman there. He's a Padma Shri winner. His name is Padma Shri Raju. He works in vegetable dyes. He has come up with a process where he can produce 36 different hues from the same 3 primary colors. Red, yellow, green, which are vegetable dyes. From there he gets 36 shades of it. And how? Very simply tough, the kind of material you use, the temperature, the pressure, the moisture content, the kind of vessel in which you use it, etc., etc. All of this knowledge exists in India, but it has not been put to use, right? We'll go and get a industrial loom made shirt or pant or sari or whatever, right? But this is the kind of stuff that needs to happen to give respect and livelihoods to people who actually have the know-how, right? And our goal is to find the entrepreneurs, train them, mentor them, educate them, provide them access to funding, etc., such that they go and create branded businesses. Not a commodity business, a branded business, right? Very important to understand that. Because people pay for the brand. You don't pay for a commodity. So these are some of the things I've talked to you about what we do. And as of now, what we are doing is we've got about 4,500 members in our network. It is all free. We don't charge anyone anything. We have 60% women, 6 chapters across the country, right? And we have an MOU here with the government of Telangana's Innovation Council. So the idea is to make this something that everybody participates in and makes it a part of their life. So next time you go to buy something for a festival or any other occasion, right, look Indian, buy Indian and buy a good brand, because on the back end, it is going and helping somebody. Thank you.